should we get the obvious one out of the way, which is I'm going to guess ZywOo's Player of the Year, right?
Yeah, I don't even think the debate could even be discussed. Like, there's no debate. Like, it's his year. 2023 is this year. He has the MVPs. He's got the major. He's got the wins. He's statistically a good mile ahead of anybody. There are maybe a few stats if you're looking for AWP kills per round where he's a bit behind. But I personally, I don't think there is even a discussion to be had. It's his year. Would I say he played better than last year? I think that would be an interesting conversation in itself. But I do think 2023 is fully ZywOo's. And then the interesting debate sort of starts after that, if you agree.
I mean, the thing for me with the ZywOo one is people will forget that last year, much like every year where he wasn't number one, it's usually because he had like a period of the year. It's usually at the beginning, you'll notice around the spring, where he'll have a little bit of a slump. Now, look, I'll use the Aaron Rodgers line from the NFL, where what happened was Aaron Rodgers had a year, right? He's like a star quarterback, where his numbers weren't quite as good. But the joke was, and he even said this line, he was like, yeah, but you notice my down year looks like some people's career year. So it's the same joke. Like when we say like, ZywOo wasn't as good, like first of all, he was number 2. And then secondly, the stats are like, you know, like Robs would take that tomorrow as his next year's stats. So
exactly.
We are talking about, you know, like expectations, obviously, a part of what's attenuating this. But then the other thing I would say is I actually think this year he has to be better this year, because I don't think there was a weak point this year, mate. Like I pointed out, he hadn't had many prestige tournaments where he had the big run. Obviously, he eventually had the major. But then again, this year we only had 3 prestige events. We had a major in Cologne and Katowice. And by the way, I actually think when we get maybe a little bit further down the list, one of the problems is because G2 only won those 2 prestige events and then fuck all else, they weren't even in finals. I actually think it gets really complicated if you go for accomplishments this year. That's why I say the good news about the fact there's like 1 million people with like a 1.18 rating is, why don't we just, all right, just talk about who's the best and then figure it out based on like the team roles and stuff. So yeah, I agree. The ZywOo one's a pretty obvious one. I'm not someone who just like worships stats, but I do think when you are that far ahead in stats, and then you look, this is probably going to help also with the Nico rating, I'm sure. When you also then look and know that actually ZywOo isn't playing the most selfish possible Counter-Strike where he's just at the back with an AWP picking people off. He's not doing like James things where he saves and gets 2 kills or whatever. Like, he's even with an entry on T-side with the fucking AK running in. Like, if you saw that Shox interview I did, they said that when Shox used to be in Vitality, literally, Extaz used to actually shout at ZywOo, like, can you stop fucking going first? Like, basically let someone else go first, and then they'll like let you set up for the rest of the round, because they thought like this guy's just wasted himself like cannon fodder. So I actually think people don't realize as well, like, his numbers are insane, like basically impossible. Like, look, no one's even close this year, but we also know, like, actually he's played a pretty well-rounded game this year. In the past years, it was that ridiculous meme of like, it was always ZywOo until Spink's game. No, like, proper second star in terms of production. You'd have very good players, like veteran French players, like Shox, etc. But this one guy had to, like, put the majority of the production, and then that was just the way it was. Like, this time around, it really is like he does any roles he wants. He's all over the place. He's good on all sides of the game. In fact, there's how we can start tying it into some of the game mates. Is I saw this in this Blast World final, because the game that was interesting, obviously, was the Nuke one, just like the previous one, the Blast Fall final, right? Mate, in these games, there's times actually where even though it's supposed to be the dominant side, I've noticed when Vitality's on CT side of Nuke, dude, they're not actually that crazy good. Like, there's a lot of holes to their game. But every time someone gets, like, FaZe Clan and they're doing a run against them on CT side of Nuke, where ZywOo just fucking keeps you in the game. Like, this guy, because it's like simple back in the day, he can just rotate wherever he is. He's always going to be there. You always have to essentially win a duel against him. And because that's so hard, like, it just shows me, like, that even though people are seeing the MVPs, this is actually, like, where I really think MVP comes in. It's like, there's a concept from basketball like this, which is like all points in basketball aren't equal, because everyone knows as a competitor, Maniac, the psychological feeling of when, like, you're in, like, a drought, like, you can't get a basket. The point is, my analogy for what a superstar is the superstar's the guy you really can't just pass the ball to and sort of say, like, make some magic happen, mate. Like, at the moment, you know, nothing's working, the offense is fucked, like, this guy's having issues, maybe confidence is If we just give you the ball, though, you do your shit. That's what ZywOo does, mate. Like, other people like Rops, maybe they go up and down with their team. Nico does seem like things affect him. Doesn't ZywOo just turn up pretty much every game? I might have my disputes to whether he's like hit his peak in a game, but man, lie, it's pretty rare that he has a bad. Like the joke is, it's so rare he has a bad game that they're all memorable. You can remember the 5 big ones he ever has a year. Right?
I know, and this is where I have a problem. If you're trying to judge ZywOo in isolation, this is where I have a problem, and you can give me your opinion on that too. Because now I feel like people are making the argument that ZywOo is finally showing up in semis and finals and having these incredibly pivotal moments where he just wins you an incredible round and then everyone is back in the game and then Vitality finally win. And if you look at the stats and if you look at key series in playoffs, the numbers, they back up that claim. Like he's had incredible series in playoffs, incredible grand finals, incredible semis and whatever. I do wonder to what extent this is only ZywOo playing better, or to what extent now the rest of the team is capable on banking, capitalizing on these rounds that he wins, and then, creating another momentum. You're talking about the spawn of Spinks as this second force. This is sometimes complicated to kind of entangle, right? Is this just ZywOo playing incredibly much better? Or is it just that, yes, he creates these moments, but then the rest of the team is kind of able to pick up the ball and then go ahead and score for the team as well? This is where I kind of struggle. In isolation, incredible year for ZywOo in 23. Very, very hard to poke holes. I agree with you. Even Katowice, Cologne, the numbers are great. Even if the trophy isn't here, the rest of the year is incredible. The playoffs rating are incredible. But then I also feel like it's hard to objectively look at how much of these trophies are just ZywOo being incredible and how much is the cast, like from coast to coast, be kind of able to capitalize on the opportunities that he creates, because that's what a superstar does. A superstar creates opportunities for your team to kind of get momentum and then win rounds. And I think now Vitality also has or had more assets to kind of jump on these opportunities. So I struggle a little bit with that. It's not really a close topic in my mind, but definitely an incredible year for him.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.